What's up, guys? M. Jones back in the house again for my June 2nd, 2013 Blu-ray update. Talk about a lot of movies that I've gotten in the last couple weeks. Some new, some old, some just recently released, and of course some that's been around for a long time. Let's get right to it. And I also got to rep my boys for Game 7, hoping he'd go all the way. First movie I got, one of my favorite movies as I was a kid watching. I absolutely love this movie. It was probably one of the first rated R movies I remember, watching. I had to get all that stuff. Bad Boys, 1995, and also, hence Miami. The film was filmed in Miami. Really love this movie. You know, Mike Lowry. I loved him. I love, Will Smith as Mike Lowry, and Martin Lawrence plays Marcus Bennett, and they're two cops trying to get a drug lord who killed a friend of a person they're trying to protect who witnessed the murder. And just a really good movie. The action is really good. The comedy is awesome. I thought this movie is so good for a crime thriller with comedy. Tia Leone is also in this. Found her to be a little annoying in that movie, but she was pretty good, but just a little annoying. But I really think Martin Lawrence is a comic genius. He's so funny in this movie, and how he gets so protective of his wife. Certain things, if you've seen it, you know what I mean. With like Will Smith and stuff, and just a really funny movie. And I couldn't believe I didn't have it on my own Blu-ray collection, but I had to pick it up. Got it real cheap. It's nothing real expensive at all on like Amazon or even at Best Buy or anything like that. So pick this one up. Classic movie, awesome movie. Alright, the next one I only got this because it was one of those movies that I think everyone's seen but me, and I just had to know if it was any good. I wish I would have just rented it like Netflix or on demand, whatever. I really wish I didn't have this movie. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Now, everyone's probably screaming through their teeth right now at me, the fact that I didn't like this. I didn't like it. That's all I can really say. I did not like it. I was kind of like, thought it was cool that they would go back in time to write this paper for their school, and George Carlin is basically kind of like Doc Brown. He can get you back in the past and also and look ahead to the future, and the two boys, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, they go back in time and learn about all the crazy historical events that's happened, like Napoleon and Abraham Lincoln, all this stuff. I thought it was boring, and I don't know why. I couldn't get into it. Everyone said it's so good, and I was totally into it. I was very positive about it. I figured, hey, it is older, so I gotta be patient, make sure I understand it is older, so it might be a little slow for me. It was so slow for me. I just didn't like it. I'm sure it's back when it came out in the 80s. It was like really popular. For me, it did nothing for me. It did absolutely nothing. I just did not like it. But it was cool to see young Keanu Reeves. His voice has never changed. He's still that California surfer guy. He still has that tone. And the other guy, Alex Winter, you never hear anything about him anymore. But I like George Carlin the most in this movie, as the guy that gets them to back into the past. And it just did nothing for me. Just really did nothing. But if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to admit it. People think it's that good. Next one I got, I think this came out in like 1995. It was a Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson movie. It was directed by the late Tony Scott, who I believe jumped off the San Francisco Bridge or something like that. He committed suicide, I think in California. It was Crimson Tide. A really, really good movie. It was with Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman, and basically, Denzel Washington, he is aborting this ship that has nuclear missiles, and they basically say in the beginning of the movie the three most powerful men in the world are U.S. President, the President of the Russian Republic, and also the captain of a U.S. nuclear ship, and the captain was Gene Hackman, and they were under the ship. And they had to go protect something that Russia took away from them and took control of. So America had to go over there and try to protect that or take it back, something like that. And there's like a mutiny that happens in the sub, and crazy stuff goes down. Guns are pulled out of their holsters. Like Crazy stuff. It's a really good movie. You got to check it out. But it just shows you how Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington are kind of friends, kind of enemies, and it kind of goes back and forth. And it's just such a wonderful movie. And I definitely suggest you check it out because it is very suspenseful. Don't want to say too much if you haven't seen it. But just, a back and forth kind of movie. And, just a wonderful flick. I really highly suggest you get this. 1995, I believe it came out. The next one I got, I was very surprised I never saw this movie. If you know me, I'm a big fan of based on true stories, based on true events. I love those movies. I think they're actually a lot more fun to watch. Excuse my voice, by the way. Really wanted to see this for years. I finally got it off of Amazon.com, very cheap. But Erin Brockovich, a 2000 drama comedy, I guess you want to call it. It was based on a woman who was very down on her luck, unemployed, had 3 kids, was divorced twice. Very low on the financial end of things. Really needed a job. Well, she got in a car accident and she went to this attorney to try to get her money because she wasn't the reason the accident occurred, and he did like nothing for her. So she's trying to look for jobs, because she couldn't get any money from that case. And she actually gets a job where that attorney works. And they actually became worked together a little bit. And she figured out something was going wrong with contaminating water and all this stuff down in the South, because people were getting sick and stuff and getting cancer. So he the guy was Albert Finney, he an old English actor. He was born in the 30s. He's much older now. He was the character of Ed Masry, who was the attorney that he couldn't get Julia Roberts' money, Erin Brockovich. So he puts her on this little case that was a pro bono job, and she figures out all this stuff, all this crooked crap that this PGE did. Someone, or they try to keep your water clean. And she completely figured it all out, and it's just a wonderful movie. I don't want to tell you too much more. I kind of said a lot. And Julia Roberts did a wonderful job. She was Best Actress in 2000 for this role. And it was also very famous that she didn't even thank Erin Brockovich, the actual real person, in her speech. And she's so embarrassed that she never said anything. But I always like Julia Roberts. She seems very cool. But this is just a wonderful movie. It's not boring at all, but it's a little slow a few times because it's kind of, it's not full of excitement completely, but Julia Roberts makes her character of Erin Brockovich just so good. You believe it's actually her. And the cool thing was the actual Erin Brockovich had a cameo in this movie where she was a waitress during one scene. So that was really cool. And the waitress' name on her tag was Julia, Julia Roberts. I thought that was so cool how they kind of flip-flopped that. But very good movie. The next one I got, and actually got 2 National Lampoons the past 2 weeks. But the first one I'll talk about is National Lampoon's European Vacation. Out of the 4 ones that came out with the vacations that were the mainstream vacations, not the crap ones like Christmas Vacation 2, that was garbage. Out of those 4 that the main ones, I thought this one was probably not the best. It's probably the worst one out of the 4. It's still an okay movie. I still always laugh at the part where they get in they're in Europe and they want to get a picture taken, and the guy's like, okay, now get in, and they're right at this waterfall kind of thing, and the character photographer's like, all 4 of you, I want you to get into the actual water, and I'll take a picture of you guys in the water, and they're like, oh, okay. So as soon as they get in, he just runs away and steals it. I thought that was so funny. But I actually got to meet the boy who played Rusty in this. His name's Jason Lively, the brother to Blake Lively. And he's older. He's older than her by a lot. But he was kind of a douche. I met him at, I think it was Monster Mania in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I met him 2 or 3 years ago. And my good buddy Steg, we both thought that he was just kind of a douchebag. He just, I don't know. We got a weird vibe from him. Just a weird kind of guy. And, he was kind of didn't want to talk about Blake Lively at all. I said, oh, so your sister's her? And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, dude, I didn't mean to bring it up. But just, I'm like, you did nothing with your career. So, I'm not a fan of Jason Lively at all. I just thought he was kind of a douchebag. But this movie, it's it's a solid 5 out of 10 out of a scale. But it's a good to have to your collection if you're a big National Lampoon's guy. I am, and I love all the Vacations, and I'm a huge Chevy Chase fan, so I usually want to collect anything he has that is on Blu-ray. But if you're in for a movie that's just kind of ridiculous slapstick, this is your movie. Check it out. Next one, another movie I never got to see back in the late 90s that I really wanted to see, and I finally saw that it was on I think recommended to me on Amazon. It was High Fidelity. John Cusack, Jack Black. What's her name? I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, I'm forgetting somebody. Who am I thinking of? Oh, I forget. No, I can't think of who I'm thinking of. There's two people that John Cusack wants to basically he wants to kind of get the girlfriend that walked out on him back, but he's trying to figure out why she really left. And he owns like a vintage vinyl record store, like stuff that people don't really, you'll never see now. My gosh, with iTunes now, you'll never see that stuff. These old record stores, and he has all these old record stores. And Jack Black's like his right hand man. It was so crazy and peculiar and strange. And he yells at people that come into the store that aren't real big music people. He's not about business. He's always about the truth of music, which is funny, but it's very dangerous to have as an employee to not make any money. But this movie is really good because he tries to figure out where he went wrong as a guy with his relationship that is current. And I think her name was Sarah Gilbert. I forget. But she's not. Oh no, it was Eben Hajadi, or some girl from Europe. Hardly in any American movies, but she was in this. And I loved her in this movie. She was really good. She was a short-haired blonde girl, and he basically tries to go over all the girls that broke his heart, all the ones that got away, and figure out what are his problems as a guy now. And it's just a really good movie. There's a lot of great music references. The soundtrack's really good. Really loved this movie. I thought it was really exceptional. And the person I was thinking of was Lisa Bonet, who's in The Cosby Show. And I'm sorry for the hesitation about a minute ago. I just couldn't remember her name. But she was a big part in this movie. And, also, Catherine Zeta-Jones was in this movie. Before she got really big, I think Entrapment really got her on the big stage. The movie that came out with Sean Connery. And also Chicago. But she was in this. And she played just a real confident chick, and John Cusack couldn't handle that. They dated. He's just I don't know what she's doing with me. And I'm thinking, I know, dude, what is she doing with you? Because she's beautiful. And John Cusack, hey, whatever. Not the most handsome man in the world. But, just a great movie, and I just love the music of it. I love all the references of that. And, I definitely suggest you check this out. It came out in 1999, I believe. Maybe 98. The next one I got, I remember when I was a kid, I snuck in for a second to just take a peek because it was NC-17. The only NC-17 movie I ever remember as a kid, Showgirls. I never saw the movie. I know it's full of nudity and it's full of all that. Not a pervert at all. I just had to know what it was like. I had to know what the movie was all about. And, Gina Gershon's still one of the most beautiful women that has never really aged much. She was recently in Killer Joe, and she was a complete redneck, white trash maniac. And, in this movie, she's the head showgirl who starts to believe in, Elizabeth Berkley's role, the girl from Saved by the Bell, as to be the next showgirl, the next best dancer that dances nude. And the movie was awful. The movie was not good. Now, there's a cult following to this movie. It won so many Razzie Awards for being terrible. It was just, I don't know, it wasn't very good at all. But, the dance scenes are really cool, and, Kyle MacLachlan always plays such a douchebag in every movie. And he was kind of a douche in this, but he wasn't that bad of a guy. And it was a pretty good movie. If you like all the dancing and all the glamour and stuff like that for what it is in Vegas, but the movie wasn't good. It was not a good movie. But I always wanted to see it, and I remember when I was a kid, I was like, "Mom, NC-17, what does that mean?" She's like, "That's worse than R," and I was like, "Oh man, that's cool." So, but I obviously wasn't allowed to see it, but I remember sneaking into it at a local theater, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" But if you want to see it, just don't take it serious because it's not a great movie. And Elizabeth Berkley is not the best actress at all. Next one I got, the second of the National Lampoons. Had to get this because it was just released on Tuesday, Vegas Vacation. I love this movie. I think it's right up there. I think the best one's probably Christmas Vacation, and the second one's probably the original Vacation, and then this one's definitely third place. And it's very close to the first two. Really love this movie. Clark takes his kids out and his wife and Helen to Vegas, and to basically redo their vows for he and Helen. And he just goes crazy of spending so much money. He spends like $25,000, something like that, and he loses it and all that stuff. And his kids are so kind of sheltered. Ethan Embry's in this, the boy from That Thing You Do, and Ken Hardly he plays Rusty, and he gets like a fake ID and gets really lucky playing craps. And makes all this money and has an alter ego and has this fake ID, and he becomes like a huge mob boss type guy in the matter of 2 days. And Clark's daughter becomes like a showgirl dancer, and Helen becomes obsessed with Wayne Newton because Wayne Newton became obsessed with her. And the whole movie's just so crazy and ridiculous, but it's actually a good movie. It's actually a funny movie. I really, really enjoyed this movie. And Cousin Eddie, Randy Quaid, he's so good in this. I love the part where they're at the buffet table in the Vegas casino, and Clark and Eddie are talking, and they're going through this whole nasty buffet of food, and there's this blue stuff and some kind of meat in it, and the other one's this yellow, and it's chicken and beef, and it's so disgusting, but it's so funny that Eddie's all about it. And there's also a part that I really hated in this movie was with Clark when he went to the Hoover Dam with his family, and the little hole of water pops out at him, and he tries to put gum in it and all that stuff and fix it, and he tries to figure out where his family went after he's trying to fix this hole at this tour they're on, and it's so fake on how he finds his family. He goes through a whole schematic of trying to get back up to the very top of the Hoover Dam where their tour's at, and he has to climb the Hoover Dam because he opens his door and there's the Hoover Dam looking out, and he climbs up something that's impossible to climb up. He'd be dead tired in real life and he would have died easily. But they never seemed to matter. He just made it up this whole climbing thing of the Hoover Dam. I didn't like that part. It was just too far-fetched. I like some things that seem like Hollywood did take over a little bit, but this was way taken over with Clark getting back into the tour with his family by climbing up the actual wall, which would be impossible. But besides that, this movie's really fun. It's very simple, and it's cool how he gets his money back. Sid Caesar cameo. I love Sid Caesar, and it was really cool to see how he got his money. And Rusty got all these cars. It was such a cool movie. Definitely check this out. Very funny. All right. Next one, Yes Man. Love this movie. Jim Carrey. I think this came out 2007, 2008, something like that. I remember taking my little cousin to see this movie, and I really liked this movie. It was Zooey Deschanel, not a huge fan of, never have been. I think she's just a little too monotone, but she was the love interest in this. She was some yoga instructor, some kind of aerobics instructor, whatever. And he just always says no to everything. And he finally went to one of their self-help kind of conventions, like a Tony Robbins thing. And the guy in it was basically you start saying yes to your life, and it'll change you. So he gets this whole pamphlet and reads it and goes to that thing, and he starts saying yes to everything, and his life just picks up because he's such a Debbie Downer of everything. And Bradley Cooper's in it, and it's his best buddy or best man or something like that. No, he's getting married, and Jim Carrey's supposed to be the best man or a groomsman in his wedding. He doesn't even show up to the rehearsal. He doesn't do anything. He's just always saying no and being negative. And this whole thing is he has to say yes for everything. It just makes for a fun movie, but it's just like Liar Liar. He had to be honest for a day in Liar Liar. Now this movie, he had to say yes the entire time in the movie after this whole going to this convention thing, this seminar, and the self-help seminar. And it's just so funny what he does. His whole life changes. He just becomes a nicer guy. He becomes a more realistic guy. He becomes just a good person in society, really. But it's a fun movie. It's very simple, nothing crazy. But you know, I don't think it was his best performance, Jim Carrey, but it wasn't his worst by any standard. But good movie. I really enjoyed it. Alright, normally don't want to do this, and I hated that I had to buy this on DVD format, but, you know, I was told to check this movie out by a much older friend, and I never even heard of this movie, and I don't know how it's possible, because the two main characters are one of my two favorite actors, pretty much. That's Kevin Costner and Gene Hackman, and that was No Way Out. Like a 1986, I would say, no, or 1987 movie. It was about basically it was something where it was like, I think the Secretary of the State was Gene Hackman, and his, you know, he was married, and his mistress was Sean Young, you know, the crazy chick Lois Einhorn from Ace Ventura, and like, you know, Kevin Costner becomes like lovers to Sean Young, so it's all this, you know, all this crazy stuff about you know, a woman in the picture between two guys, and how the one guy is you know, not doing the right thing by cheating on his wife, and how Kevin Costner falls into the picture with stuff. And there is the craziest twist in the very end of this movie that I do not want to tell you, because it was just so cool. And if I did even hint at anything, you would know. But Kevin Costner and Gene Hackman were so good in this movie, and they had to basically cover up a murder where Gene Hackman's lover, Sean Young, spoiler alert, is murdered by Gene Hackman, and they had to basically cover it up, and, you know, figure out how they can put the blame on someone. Well, they put the blame basically on Kevin Costner, or they put the blame on somebody, and they're trying to figure out how they can get you know, basically make this happen. Well, it was just a crazy movie, and, you know, I just really love this movie. I definitely suggest you check it out. I wish it would go Blu-ray, because I do not like purchasing DVD anymore or any longer. So definitely check this out. An early movie for Will Patton, who's in Armageddon and Remember the Titans. Love him and everything he does. He was amazing in The Client as that cop. You know, just definitely check this out, and you will be shocked at the ending. Shocked. I was. Could not believe it. But definitely check that out. But anyway, thanks again for watching, subscribing, and of course I love any kind of interest you take in my updates. You know, please, you know, if you want to comment, I want to know what kind of movies you like and what movies you like that I had chosen here. And of course, you know I don't do all the movies that are most recently released, but I buy the movies that I really like, and I want you to really find out. And sometimes I buy a movie that I haven't seen yet that stinks. And for example, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure I thought stunk. But that's just what I like to do. So if you're wondering why it's not always the newest movies that are most currently released, it's because I buy movies that I really love, and I want to show you the movies I love. So if you ever wanted that, that's why. But I do like to keep up with some of the new stuff as well. But until I see you again, you take it easy, and bye.